We next begin with the second part of Unit 2 that deals with another layer of the networks called Media Access Control Sublayer or Medium Access Control Sublayer. Now, this is essentially part of data link layer. So, some people call medium or even media access control, and some people even call it as multiple access. So, different terminology or different convention. So either way you can say, but most often the popular definition is this medium access control sublayer, MAC in short. Now essentially we have seen that networks, computer networks that we have seen so far are generally divided into two types. One we said point to point and the other is broadcast. I hope you remember this classification. In broadcast networks, we'll have a broadcast channel or broadcast media to which we have hosts connected. Point to point means basically the hosts are having point to point links in the form of some topology. Maybe I can have some graph topology or I can have star topology. These are point to point. This is broadcast. Okay. The important issue or the key challenge, the important challenge in broadcast networks, the challenge in the broadcast network is who gets access to the channel. Channel means media. The media could be a fiber optic, media could be a coaxial cable, twisted pair, all that we have seen earlier. I don't have to repeat. So these are media. Who get access to it? Because this is shared media. It is shared by all. It is just like a bus topology. Okay, so at a time it can be in use by only one host. These are the hosts. So who gets access to the channel? In case if multiple hosts are trying to attempt the access of the channel, then who should get the access to the channel? There is a competition involved here, right? There is a competition involved here. So in the event of competition, who should get access to the channel? That is a major challenge of these protocols called media access control sublayer or media access protocol. Okay, so these broadcast channels are therefore known as sometimes known as multi-access channels or random access channels. So medium access control sublayer basically addresses this problem of channel allocation or solving this problem of deciding as to who should get the access to the channel. Okay. Medium access control sublayer is a part of data link layer, and most often it is used in the case of local area networks, right? So multi-access channels and local area networks are closely associated with this. So let me write that point. Multi-access channels and local area networks are closely associated. Means most of the LANs that we use, you take either wired LANs or wireless LAN, both. The topology will be a broadcast topology. The topology of them is broadcast. So therefore multi-access channel protocols are primarily used in the local area networks, which become part of data link layer. So that is the place of media access control sublayer in what we say the OSI model. So I hope you understood what is the meaning of medium access, right? Accessing. Why we are saying accessing? Because at any time media can be in use by any one host or one station. Okay. So in case if multiple hosts are trying to access the channel at the same time, then there will be an issue. There will be an issue called collision. This I will introduce later point of time. Collision. That means if two or more stations output the data onto the media access at the same time, then it would collide. It would result in what is called collision. So solving the problem of collisions is the major challenge of this particular unit. Okay. So actually this classification which I am going to tell you is not there in the textbook, so you kindly follow here. In general, MAC protocols are categorized into three types. MAC protocols are classified into three types. What are the three types? The first type of protocol is called channelization protocols. To solve the problem of channel allocation, channelization protocols. There are three protocols in this, or rather, three. One is frequency division multiple access, time division multiple access, code division multiple access. We'll discuss all this in detail. This frequency, I'm writing in short, frequency, this time, this code. DMA is same, division multiple access. The second category of protocols is of media access is controlled access protocols. Controlled access. That means here we have some sort of controlled access protocols. And essentially here I have three: reservation based protocols, or the other type is polling, and the third type is called token passing. Okay, and the third category of protocols of media access are called random access protocols. Random access protocols, and here also I have three of them. One is called Aloha. Okay, the other is carrier sensing, and the third one is collision free. Okay, collision free. So as per your syllabus, we need to discuss, or we are going to discuss in brief about this, because this you had studied in the subject of data communication networks, and here we'll study about token passing. I'll briefly talk about reservation and polling, and then in detail we are going to learn Aloha, carrier sensing, and collision free. So that is the objective of this particular chapter. Okay, so how to allocate the channel, which is a single broadcast channel among competing users. Let me write how to allocate channel, which is nothing but single broadcast medium among competing users. Users means hosts, stations. So in view of this particular problem now in the domain of networking is named as this particular problem now is given a name as channel allocation problem. So this particular chapter deals with the question of channel allocation problem by solving it by means of these protocols. Okay. Now, as I said, the media can be either optical fiber, or maybe it can be a wireless channel also, or it could be like fiber optic, or maybe twisted pair, whatever we studied earlier. Okay. So first I will start with channelization protocols, then I will come to random access, and then token passing. All that we will take up one by one. Okay. So first we'll start our discussion with channelization protocols, where I will briefly introduce you to the concept of FDM, TDM, and code division multiple access, so that you can have a basic understanding of it. Okay, so I have a presentation for that. We will see the presentation. Kindly see. So what I'm trying to say essentially here, the channel allocation problem which I defined just now, what is that? I have made a definition for you. Okay, I have made a definition for you. One second. Okay, I'll take a thin medium one, right? So this we have already defined, and now these are the objectives of this, and data link layer searching we will see later point of time. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So protocols used to determine who goes next. I mean, when I have a single media, we have to decide, the protocol has to decide who should go next on a multi-access channel. It's a part of the MAC control, which is a portion of data link layer I said earlier. So especially it is very important in LANs, particularly the wireless LANs, because wireless means it is a broadcast channel. Wireless media is a total broadcast channel. Okay. Wide area networks, on the other hand, in contrast, use point-to-point links. So therefore, there will not have the channel allocation problem. So the main issue of the channel allocation problem is to decide how to allocate a single broadcast channel among competing users. Generally we classify the approaches into two types. One is called static channel allocation schemes and the other is dynamic channel allocation schemes. So primarily static means are your channelization protocols that I discussed earlier, like TDM, FDM, CDMA. These are all static type. And then the other one which we said, the Aloha, right? What is Aloha we'll see later. Carrier sense, and then collision free, the other category, they belong to the dynamic channel allocation schemes. So in the case of static approach, we have more importantly frequency division multiple access and code division multiple access. So we'll see what is frequency division multiple access and code division multiple access, but there are certain assumptions. Let us try to understand. In static channel allocation scheme, a fixed portion of the frequency, so this is the frequency FDM. So here I will mark you this, we are discussing FDM approach. This is FDM. The frequency, suppose for example I have frequency of 1000 kilohertz. Then this, if there are n competing stations, then this frequency will be divided by n. Suppose if there are 10, so each station will get 100 kilohertz frequency. So it will transmit with this, just like your radio stations, right? Every radio station will have its own frequency. So within that they communicate, within that they transmit, which will be used by the users. So for n competing users, the bandwidth is divided into n channels using frequency division multiplexing, and each portion is assigned to one user. So when I say the first 100 will be used by station 1, station 1 will use the first 100, 0 to 99 kilohertz. Station 2 will use from 100 to 199 frequency band. I hope you are understanding the point. That my total frequency of the channel is 1000, which I have divided into n units, right, equally, and then that will be used. It is not suitable for in case of large number of users with variable bandwidth requirements. So if the bandwidth requirements are uniform, then frequency division multiplexing is useful. If it is not uniform, then this is not. Like if some station wants very high frequency and some want low frequency, then this is not a better approach. Okay. So in case of large number of users, this approach is not better, and if some stations are not transmitting, then that frequency will go waste. So that is frequency division multiple access. Okay. Next is likewise we have time division multiple access. So what happens in time division multiple access? Mechanism is similar to statistical TDM, right? But what happens is in the case of time division, let me show it by means of the diagram. I'll close the presentation. So what happens in time division multiplexing, TDM? Suppose if you say this is the time will be divided into discrete intervals like this. These are discrete intervals. Where each interval which is a fixed duration is reserved for one host. So this interval is for host 1, this is for host 2, this is for host 3, and so on it goes, host k. There are k hosts. So during this time, the media will be accessible only by host 1. During this time, the media will be accessible only by host 2, and so on. That is time division multiple access. Okay. So what happens is if any station has anything to send, then it from host one has anything to send, it can send only in this time slot. It cannot send in any other time slot. It has to wait until it gets its slot back. So if you know operating system, this concept is just like round robin scheduling. The concept of time division multiple access is just like round robin scheduling. Round robin scheduling. Okay. Like every process is given a fixed amount of time, every station is given a fixed amount of time. So the major challenge or the major drawback here is if any station doesn't have any data to send, then that slot will go waste. That slot will go waste. So we are again reserving the slot for the statically for every station. So therefore that will also lead to wastage of space, just like we have wastage of frequency in FDM. So more or less TDM and FDM, their ideology, their performance is essentially the same in terms of wastage of bandwidth. If I'm not using the frequency, then the frequency band will go waste. If I'm not using the time slot, then that time slot will go waste, right? That time slot will go waste. Suppose if every station is utilizing it, then the efficiency will be better. If the stations are not utilizing this, then there will be a drop in the frequency. There will be a drop in the throughput or efficiency of the system. Okay. Suppose if transmission time is TT and propagation time is TP, we have seen this earlier, then the efficiency of the system when the load is high, when all the stations are sending, will be nothing but TT by TT plus TP. Is it not? So that will be this will be the efficiency when the load is high. Why? Because every station is sending. So therefore calculating the efficiency for all the systems is nothing but calculating the efficiency for one system. That means if you multiply with n number of stations both in numerator and denominator, this will cancel and then I will get TT by TT plus TP efficiency. But on the other hand, for example, out of 4 slots, if I have 4 slots, let's say out of 4 slots, if only 3 stations are sending, then the efficiency you see it become 3 by 4 times of this, 3 by 4 times of TT by TT plus TP. Is it not? That means it becomes 0.75, 75%. It becomes 75%. So that's why we say time division and frequency division multiplexing approaches of channel allocation will be useful only when the load is high. If the load is less, then this will not be useful. Then the third type of channelization protocol is called CDMA, which stands for code division multiple access. I mean, we don't have to go into much of the details of this. I just introduce you to the concept, code division multiple access. Generally, you might have seen in wireless communication, in the cellular terminology, we used to have from Reliance company, we used to have CDMA phones earlier, code division multiple access. Like the other technology is GSM. So these are the two technologies for our cellular phone. So CDMA, code division multiple access, is basically based on this. So what happens in CDMA, I'll just give a brief overview so that you can have an idea. This is host 1, this is host 2, this is host 3, this is host 4. Every host will have their corresponding codes, like their IDs, you can say, code. So whenever they transmit the data, they will transmit the data with respect to their code. Suppose if this fellow has data D1 to send, this has D2 to send, this has D3 to send, D4 to send. Then if all of them are sending, the transmitted signal will be nothing but sum of this all, C1 D1 plus C2 D2 plus C3 D3 plus C4 D4, which is nothing but sigma if I write Ci into Di. I is equal to, so this will be the value of the signal which get transmitted when all of them are sending the data onto the same. Okay. So what happens is, suppose if this fellow want to send the data to this station, so the destination will decode, will have a mechanism here to decode, right? This is encoding done and then decoding done. So it will separate out the codes of all the remaining ones, C1, C2, C3, and then it will take it corresponding data which has come from the host, and it can continue like that. So this is just a review. We don't have to go into this because we don't study about CDMA in this particular thing. Okay. So this is about channelization protocols of TDMA, FDMA, and CDMA. Okay. Now going back to the presentation to study what are some of the important assumptions that we make in the dynamic channel. So this is all static channel allocation. So for beginning the discussion with dynamic channel allocation, there are certain assumptions that we have to make. So what are those assumptions? Let us try to understand through the presentation. Okay. So have a look again. Dynamic channel allocation schemes. The frequency bands are not statically or permanently assigned to the users. Look at that. They are not statically or permanently assigned to the users. The mechanism is similar. Okay, this we have already seen. So let me go. So first assumption of dynamic channel allocation is independent traffic. The model, that means the stations, the network, the host, and the media, the model consists of n independent stations, that is non-cooperating station. They are not cooperating, means they are independent to transmit at any time. And we assume broadcast channel, single channel. Single channel is available for all communication, which is shared by all. And there is always a possibility of collision. What is collision? For example, if you, let's say this is the broadcast channel and these are the hosts, H1, H2, H3. So if two or more hosts, they send the data at the same time. This also send, this also send. Because this channel is capable to carry only one signal, so when the signals come from both the stations together at the same time, it will lead to what is called collision. When collision happens, the data gets garbled, data gets corrupted. So for which you have to retransmit again. So there are protocols in which the stations will have the capability to detect the collisions, and there are protocols in which the stations will not have capability to detect collisions. So we have mechanism for dealing with that. Okay. So clearly we can observe collisions here. And then the time which is used, the frame time which is used for frame transmission can be either continuous or slotted time. Continuous means we are not dividing time into slots. We are not like in time division multiplexing. Any station can send data at any point of time. That is called continuous transmission. So frame transmission can begin at any instant in case of continuous time. An alternative approach is slotted time. That is, we divide the time just like our TDM. Okay. And then the last assumption is carrier. What is the meaning of carrier? Carrier means signal. Signal on media. Signal on media is called carrier. Okay. So there are protocols which comes under the dynamic scheme in the category of carrier sensing or no carrier sensing. So some protocols are designed to work on the mode of carrier sensing, mean they can sense the carrier, they can sense the availability of the signal on the channel, on the media, and then they start transmission. If there is already some transmission going on, it will wait. If there is no transmission going on, then it can continue. Okay. So no carrier sense or carrier sense. That is the basic assumptions that we follow here. What we do, so in respect of this brief introduction to MAC layer protocols, classification of protocols, and introduction of some channelization schemes like TDM, FDM, and CDMA, and also the assumptions for dynamic protocols, we are now ready to begin our discussion with the first dynamic allocation problem protocol or dynamic allocation scheme called Aloha system or Aloha protocol. So next video we'll see the first MAC layer protocol in the category of controlled access protocols, right? Random access protocols, which is called Aloha protocol. That we will see in the next video.